Today we are here with member artist and author Dwight Hinson, and we're going to get Dwight to read a little for us.
Good. Okay, the name of this story is The Gypsy Pistol. My name is Dwight Hinson. This is a story about regret. Quentin Boshears seemed to have gotten away with killing a man for almost 4 years. Then one day, Enoch Arrington, the rural mail carrier, ground his old green and white Fairlane to a halt at Quentin's mailbox. Enoch had been working on the same rutted track for 33 years himself, and before him, his daddy for no telling how long, and before his daddy, his granddaddy on a mule. "Hey, Clay, you going out to the fields? Looks like Indiana wants Quentin after all these years." He held a brown envelope aloft. Clayton looked across the road and out over the field where the tiny green Scout struggled ahead of a faded bronze flatbed truck, accumulating hay bales on his back, and it didn't look unlike a June bug blazing a trail for a dung beetle. "I'll take it to him," Clayton replied. "You doing okay?" It was in Arrington's nature to know everything and to share everything news-wise. That's why he went around announcing to everyone what was in their mail ahead of their opening it. People on his route avoided hoeing their gardens until he passed, even though it meant enduring the heat of the day. "I'm all right, Mr. Arrington." "How's your daddy?" "He's all right, too. You know, I know how hard it is to find work around these parts. Folks think I don't know because I've got a good paying job. Had one all my life. Folks think I got no sympathy, but I do." "Yes, sir. There's been a lot of boys go up to the mills and come back. I've been around hundreds, heard about more. After being raised here, they just couldn't take it up there. I never had no trouble." "That's because you went up so young. It didn't set us well with Lloyd because he was older. That's how it works. The older you are, the harder it is to fit in. I think Lloyd's different, and Lloyd'd be different anywhere he was raised." Enoch Arrington leaned his head farther out the window and spat tobacco juice at Clayton's feet. "That might be. How's school? We're out now for the summer." "I know that, but do you take to it?" "I get by. I miss some folks I left back up there." "A girl?" "Maybe." Enoch Arrington wallowed tobacco in his mouth and studied Clayton. After a time, he got it all worked out in his head what he wanted to say and spoke to the boy earnestly. "Well, just jump in with both feet. That's my advice, Clay. We don't get be easy in our own skins by sitting back watching the rest. Time takes care of a lot we ought not to be studying about in the first place. Don't you be a friend of disappointment." "I appreciate that, Mr. Arrington." "Don't you mention it, boy." He spat again, and the spittle caught on his lip and dribbled down the chrome rim trim where it divided the two-tone. "Damnation. How's your ma holding up?" Clayton lowered his eyes to where the brown ran down the green paint like a toxic tear. "I guess good. She's talking about going to work at the dry goods store in town. A lot of folks don't know it, but your ma's smart. She just don't know how to make it count for much for herself. Some folks would be better born skipping a generation or two, maybe even going back some. There's better matches made that way. But your ma's smart all right, and it's coming out in her kids." Enoch Arrington winked. "Thank you, Mr. Arrington." Clayton looked over the roof of the Fairlane past the white honeycomb beacon that weakly strobed in bright sunlight like it was ashamed. "Can't nobody say I don't have sympathy for my brothers," Enoch Arrington goosed aghast, as if to confirm the Fairlane still ran. "I've got to go. You'll see Quentin gets his letter then? I don't see why they can't leave a good man alone after all this time. My best to your folks." He tilted his head and was gone. The whip antenna bolted to his bumper bent on its bulb of coil spring, then swooped and searched the great beyond as the tires hit the pavement. His taillights put Clayton in the mind of a matched brace of coon hunting flashlights, somewhat expertly attached to the fenders. Clayton crossed the road and descended the twin tracks, Boshear's farm equipment made to the bottoms. On each side, blackberry briars protected. And this time of the year, the berries were plump and sweet and sagged with fat, thorny stalks so that Clover could harvest the fringe without much complaint. He'd bring his little sister and mother down to Boshear's to pick on occasion, and it was all idyllic and sweet as biting the berries themselves and hearing the plunk in the buckets. Boshear's part tended to be a fresh-baked pie of his own or a supper invite. Clayton went through the open gate and traversed the culvert to the equipment shed Boshear's, used to house combines and cultivators and such trailing devices as his imagination would allow. Some were unidentifiable and Yankee-inspired contraptions Daddy Jasper disparaged out of Boshear's hearing. But Boshear's claimed they all worked and could potentially earn their keep should he require a channel dug or the apple trees, which he had none, need harvesting. Boshear's was an anomaly, an older man squat and slow-talking with low-hanging jowls for cheeks and kind gray eyes. He always seemed to have just come from the barber shop, with gathered, pontificated, and palavered with him warmly amid the smell of Lucky Tiger and Clubman talc. Then speculated on his past once he exited. His brush cut freshly honed and waxed in the color of shaving soap. He'd moved to Meston County some 3 years before Daddy Jasper bought the ex-bootlegger's house. Ostensibly, he had money for he bought a distressed farms the heirs waited for their to die on. 400 acres and a decaying farmhouse Boshear's had no interest in fixing up. There was no mortgage, and the realtor handling the transaction cleared an onerous gambling debt and healed quickly from a dozen physical ailments lately visited upon his person in the alley behind the realty. What made Meston County marvel, though, was here was a transplanted Yankee among them without a pissy way about him. Rumor had it he ran from killing a man in Indiana, and since Meston County understood the ins and outs of why such a thing might become necessary, Boshear's fell in pretty thick with his new neighbors and came to love his adopted life. Clayton set out across the bottom with a letter thrust in his jeans pocket. The rows of raked hay lay placid and shyly steaming like some simpleton's long-handed maze. All along the river bottom lands varied not a whit in elevation from one track to the next, and this was something understood long before a surveyor's mathematical measurement commissioned by the state. I could have saved them $5,000 or $10,000 in this county alone, Daddy Jasper remarked. Part of that money was yours that got spent, Jasper, Boshear's observed, spitting a tight brown stream off to one side of his work boot. To the north, a wall of thunder had set up to take Boshear's small crew to task of his speed at putting up the hay. It looked to be about a half hour out, but you could never tell. Clayton moved a little faster toward the tandem, and he thought he noticed the whole expedition pick up pace. Then the figures withered in platelets of heat accruing like a poker hand so that all their numbers landed, bestowed with an unnatural haste to court a thumbstick race. Boshear himself was out of the scout and tracking along the baler, and it looked to Clayton like an animated pulsing hay bale picked up an inert sunlit and deposited the same on the flatbed every once in a while. Clayton took the manila envelope from his pocket and gave it the once-over. State of Indiana, Department of Criminal Court Adjudication, it said in the upper left-hand corner. And then the semi-transparent window, Mr. Quentin M. Boshear's. So up in Indiana, they gave you fair notice you were going to jail. Not like in Meston County, where guilt and innocence were political dogs you could start sorting right off about their kin's voting history. Clayton stuffed the letter in his shirt this time. Soundless yellow lightning veins sprung from milk-white breaks in bruised distance like a brief tracing of a man's blood flow. This wasn't going to pass off some stray shower. They'd need to hay up or would have to lay another week and maybe have to be raked over and put off even longer. He watched the attitude of the storm shift and skew away from the river and toward town, accompanied by the first mild belch of thunder. Then a deeper one, like Shook 10, bearing threat. A visible blue sheet of rain with no discernible origin gave a sigh from a long way off on one side and slowly spread till it situated a well-defined edge at what appeared like a perfectly thrown 45-degree angle on the other. And indeed, it looked an apparition favoring those surveyors who'd questioned the bottomland's lack of contour. Clayton caught up with the tractor. "You go help Quentin and the others, son. It's coming up a pretty good cloud," Daddy Jasper hollered over to Massey Ferguson's motor. "I've got Mr. Boshear's mail. Indiana wants something with him." "Enoch Arrington tell you that?" "Yes." "Well, I wish he'd mind his own business. What's it say?" Clayton climbed the first few steps and handed the letter up. Daddy Jasper shut down the motor and the baler stopped eating and stilled snail-like. "If that don't beat all," Daddy Jasper explained, "they won't let a man write his accounts. Go on and give it to him, and don't say nothing." Daddy Jasper handed the letter back down. "And another thing, don't never climb up running machinery," he scolded, like the sudden appearance of the missive set him off and soured his mood. Clayton backed away, sullen, and watched him crank the tractor in gear and lurch off down the road like the letter denounced Hayes' intention to resist bailing, and its impertinence made him mad. And here came the rain to rub his nose in it on top of that. The first few spits fired off a grid of steamy spires to the heavens and signaled great possibility they might meet the fat drops halfway. The air spread freshened like it always did just ahead of the floodgates opening, and that moment of false reassurance took over and hovered all for a long spell. Clayton calmly assessed the relative distance back to the shed. When he turned around, the scout was there with the passenger door already open. Boshear beckoned him in with one hand while he stubbed out his cigar with the other. The wind picked up at Clayton's back like an interceding hand, and the storm unraveled over the bottoms whitely. "Where were you thinking to go?" Boshear laughed with that low growl of his. The cabin smelled of hair wax and old sweat and new sweat and cigar smoke. "I don't know. Maybe to the shed. It'd come up quicker than it looked like it would. Where's the rest?" "There's 4 in the flatbed cab. The rest of the bunch is up under the tarp with a load and probably playing grab-ass. Where's your daddy?" "He picked up the bill and lit out for the shed. Are you going to quit?" "I haven't decided just yet. Let's see where it goes. We're right on the edge." Clayton reached in his pocket and fetched the damp letter. "This came for you." "Let's have it then. Anything's better than having to sit here with my cigar out." Boshear grimaced when he looked at the official stamping. Clayton tried to pay attention to anything else. Presently, the old man peeled the envelope and unfolded the top crease and let the envelope fall. Scout leaked everywhere. The canvas top drummed and sagged. Constantly evolving gray flower petals played on the windshield below the rainbow tent. Boshear let the defroster run, and the arched eyebrows on the glass were slowly going to sleep. From time to time, a new leak cut back an old one, and it seemed they played some kind of game among themselves. Clayton rubbed his window with a fist. The storm slacked and veered hard for the river as if some small and righteous element gained jurisdiction over the bottoms and challenged command of its larger self. Then it reconjured its purple core over the river and steeled such will as it could into a minor evil, mimicking the river's path. "Let's go flag a bin and go to the house," Boshear suggested. "You reckon we can't take it up? The rain's about to quit." "It'll mildew if we do. Take what we got to the barn. We'll pick the rest up in a few days." "Okay. I want you to come up to the house. There's something I want to show you." Clayton didn't answer. He just skidded across the plastic seat as the scout dipped in a turn. The seam stitching was undone in many places, and the foam rubber padding beneath undermined him keeping a dry seat. The hayfield pond didn't hiss softly into the tires. The worst of the leaks gave out by the time they reached the flatbed. Boshears rolled down his window and tried to relight his cigar, but his book of matches proved sodden from his pocket, either from the rain or from sweat. A red, weathered face appeared in the window frame. "Lighter up for you, Mr. Boshears?" A gnarled, scratched hand broached the space in front of Boshears' face and flicked a see-through yellow plastic butane lighter expertly right at his nose. The flame struggled there. "Just a minute." The lighter was withdrawn momentarily. It returned rejetted and turned up hot, and Boshears shifted the cigar to the corner of his mouth for safety's sake, where it smoldered, then caught red. The flame leaned like it contemplated the chaff standing here on the man's arm, and was just about to pounce when the man's thumb let go the wheel. "Much obliged, Lon." The words drifted with the smoke. "What do you reckon?" "Put that load up you've got, then go on home." "All right, sir. Some of us have got a bill or two to settle presently." "Is it a liquor bill by any chance?" "Most allow it's for groceries, but I'll tell you the truth. Willard Mayhew is going to get my part." Boshears chuckled and reached in his stained shirt pocket. He plucked a sheaf of bills out and withdrew several. The rest he handed to Lon. "Pass this out to the boys and don't let me hear about you spent yours on flour or soda pop." Boshears gunned the Scout's tiny motor and turned headed for the shed. The sun had come back out, and the suffocating steam rose off the bottoms like it was in a hurry to reconnect with any cloud that would have it. A low-grade rumble gave out from the low-water bridge downriver. "Henry Galloway is getting the better part of this across the river," Boshears observed. "But I guess that's all right. His hay's up. I'll tell you the truth, Clay. What you're able to put up with on this earth is way more important than the cake you'll eat." Boshears halted at the shed. Daddy Jasper waited, sitting atop the gate. "We're through for today, Jasper. I done put everything up, Quentin. I don't see how good farming equipment puts up with such cockeyed neighbors, though." "Climb in, Jasper. This pup can ride in the back." Clayton got out, and Daddy Jasper hauled down off the gate, got in and closed the door. The little truck stained to climb the bank. Where it pulled on the pavement, the road situated in a blind curve both ways. Clayton listened in both directions to see would they be set upon by a drummer's truck or other such conveyance, for the Scout would be helpless in their path. Boshears and Daddy Jasper engaged in an animated exchange of the clear plastic. Clayton sat in a squeaky old rocker in Boshears' parlor, attending the old man's adopted collie, taking a nap on the hearth. Dust balls roamed the worn and faded linoleum like weightless vagabonds, responding to every rumor of breeze, and eventually collected at the sleeping dog. Old bronze flowered wallpaper peeled and frayed unevenly all around him, like it wearied long ago of its efforts, yet resisted passing even to glory. Clayton thought the flowers might once have been red and yellow and blue tulips, but now they presented themselves a dead brown, wilted and swayed and skewed, and no celebratory could any longer evoke their response. Ancient and present moisture worked a hieroglyphic at their outlines, and they leaned even more precariously where the wallpaper used to overlap. The room smelled of stale bacon and mothballs. On the mantel, a capped clear jar of barbicide with a coarse tooth-rubbed comb imprisoned. Above the mantel, a wild-eyed sojourner, perhaps from Boshears' past, or maybe even the farmhouse's former occupant, glared from a yellowed spider-ring photograph, like he was thinking about staking his ground there for all time. "I got you this for graduating high school." "I don't graduate till next year, Mr. Boshears." "Well, I know you will, and I think a lot of you, and I won't be here next year. So here." Boshears handed him a Gruen wristwatch. The box sprung open just like it came from the display case. The The band served on an elevated pop-up stand. Guarantee and care advice tags were looped around the band and hung suspended by white string. Why, Mr. Boshears, I don't know what to say. Thank you will be enough. Thank you. I sure appreciate it. What do you figure on doing after high school? I'm thinking pretty hard about going in the service before they draft me. I'm going to have a cup of coffee. You want anything? Some sweet tea maybe? No, sir. You wait here. I'll be back in a minute or two. Clayton stared at the shiny watch while the old man stumbled around the kitchen. The watch was easily the most cheerful aspect of the room now, and here it was just temporary light in the dreariness. In a little bit, Clayton extracted the watch and put it on. He closed the box and wound the stem. Then he held the watch up to a rhomboid of half-light filtering in through ratty linen curtains and falling on the linoleum like a puzzle imposed on a puzzle. He sat forward in the chair. The rocker yawned. Old Hector cracked a lazy eyelid and went back to sleep. What time is it, Mr. Boshears? He sang out to the kitchen. I expect about 3. There's not a clock in this house that works. But now you've got a watch, I reckon you'll need to know precise time. I expect so. It's kind of like a new responsibility. Boshears chuckled and the tin coffee pot clacked on the burner. Look at the back, Boshears instructed. Clayton worked it off his wrist and played with position until it caught the light. Read it to me. It says for Clay, from Quentin and Rose B. I've got to talk to you man to man now, Clay. Boshears re-entered the parlor, a blue enamel coffee cup in hand. The old man pulled up a ladder-back chair and sat heavily. Yes, sir. You ever wonder what I'd done before I come here? Well, yes, some. Well, up north, I used to be a troubleshooter for the Illinois Central Railroad. Now, that's not to say I come up against any outlaws like a Pinkerton, but it could be a little dangerous once in a while, and it took me away from home a lot. I'd dispatch hobos and cast-offs and such like to as far away from the tracks as I could get them. That's what the railroad wanted. Let things find their own level somewhere far off. You never knew what they might adopt out in their new surroundings. It was kind of like the hope a man holds in his heart when he's trying to shake a stray dog that won't leave. Move him along, and maybe the next will find a use for him somehow. Need a stray dog to come his way, I guess. I guess it was little enough on the part of the railroad from one point of view, but it never got any credit either. Well, I like to say it took me away from home a lot. Boshears sipped the coffee and leaned over to retire the cup on the floor. Clayton thought he would topple there, and when he didn't, the old man righted his thick body and drew a fresh cigar from his pack. He closed the tabs and the notch carefully and tamped the lid shut and returned the box to his shirt pocket. He then proceeded to pite out the plug and propelled it towards the reposing collie. The missile fell short and skidded, collecting dust balls in its path. Useless old dog, he muttered. Boshears moistened the cheroot's tip with his tongue and went rummaging about for a match. What he came up with was what the limp book he'd had in the scout. Clay, get me them box matches from out the kitchen, will you? Clayton rose obediently and retrieved a weightless box of fire chiefs from the bile green Formica dinette. He handed them to Boshears. Much obliged, son. Clayton retook his seat. The rocker squeaked. Old Hector looked up. Ain't you just a collie dog for posing for a picture with a pretty lady, the old man sang out. The dog stretched and wagged his tail feebly, then lay its head as before and went back to sleep. The old man fired off the cigar and took a few puffs till he was satisfied it lit proper. He held it up toward the mantel to assess some unknown aspect. The tip glowed a bright orange, and the image in the portrait seemed to approve of both of Boshears' choice of product and the lighting ritual. You ever wonder what I done to where I got to go away? The old man asked. Yes, sir. I figured you had. Well, I had me a woman up there, a good woman, too good for me. Married her and everything, but after a while I took to the notion she was cheating on me when I was off herding hippos and petty thieves and drunks. I never had any evidence of any such impropriety, mind you, but I couldn't shake the notion. There was this one bachelor dandy kept coming over for Sunday dinner. I decided it was him. I don't know exactly when I decided, but I decided. I took to drinking some right then. Didn't matter if I was home or I was on the road, I was drinking. It was eating me up inside, but I couldn't make my ask her what she was doing with the dandy around so much. One day, Rose asked me what the matter with me was, right over Sunday dinner, and the dandy was there to eat with us. I was dumbfounded. I couldn't make my mouth work, and I stormed out, and there was 3 or 4 days there where I drank solid day and night, and I don't know anything about where I was or who I was with or anything at all. Then when I got back to Rose, and the dandy had got the sheriff to have a little talk with me. He asked me what was bothering me. I asked him, was I doing anything illegal, and he said no. Well, as it so happens, my next foray took me somewhere about Terre Haute with a load of gypsies in the back of my old troop hauler. They'd been thieving off the switching yards over in Gary to where you couldn't get a locomotive whistle blow within 70 miles of Chicago. They caused one train to split open a hog truck on a crossroads that was on its way to the station to transfer the hogs to that very train. The big boss, Illinois Central, was so mad you could fry an egg on that bald head of his. He wanted to have them killed. Lucky for them gypsies, the order didn't go out till I had them in my truck, all bruised up from the brakeman and the rest of the crew at Gary, switching yard, and heading downstate farm country. Well, when we come through Terre Haute, I was just high as a kite, but not drunk yet. There was a crowd agitated and about ripe to hang a dark-skinned boy. They'd torn off his clothes, and he just stood there smiling while they jostled him. The gypsies saw too, and they put up a ruckus like you never witnessed. They gestured to the young boy. He smiled back. I stopped the truck to try and find out what was making this run so eventful so I could get back to my whiskey. When I got to the back of the truck, it was all manner of hell breaking loose. The men were motioning me to get in and showcasing the women who'd bared their breasts. I guess what they were trying to tell me was I could have my choice. I finally got sense out of one of them. He spoke good English. Said I could have any of their women I wanted if I'd do something for that boy. Now, I wasn't particularly wanting any gypsy female. They don't wash, in my experience has been they just as soon cut your throat as look at you. But I thought I'd see if I could humor my load so I could resume drinking. I went over to the crowd and asked what the boy had done. They said he was a thief. I pointed to the truck and showed them a whole truckload of thieves. Headed off to prison, I told them, and would they like me to take him off their hands? They wanted to know who I was. Told them I was a railroad officer along the lines of Pinkerton, and I showed them my flunky little badge. That did the trick. A few of them cuffed him several more times and handed him over to my custody. There rose a great cheer when I took him over to the truck, and they kissed him and gave him their clothes, and one pretty good-looking girl was already out of her skirt for me if I'd wanted her. I told them no. It was okay. I started to lock the gate back up. The man who spoke English came over to me, handed me a pistol through the bars. I couldn't believe they hadn't shot me already and escaped back to Gary, or wherever they might go from here. He said it was charmed, said it wouldn't harm an innocent man. I didn't think much about it. I accepted it. I was glad they weren't offended by my turning down the girl. I wanted to get back to my whiskey, you see. O'Shear's paused like he just remembered the cheroot and took a puff. It had gone through half its length while he spoke. The ash held together until he rested his heel on his hand on his thigh. Then it sheared off and disintegrated on its way to the floor like smoke from a blank. Have you still got it? The gun, you mean? Yes, it's right in that drawer yonder. I don't remember whether I unloaded it or not from that time. Do you miss Rose? Oh, Lordy, yes, I miss her every day. Where did she go? I was about to get to that, the old man said from somewhere far off. I was about to get to that. Where did I leave things? They gave you the gun for getting the crowd to turn over the boy. Was he a gypsy too? Yes, and he was an heir to the head of their clan, I found out later. They were expecting the old man to die off without the boy to succeed him. I guess it worked something like real kings and queens with them. And Rose, she's off to who knows where, maybe Massachusetts, where she's got family. The last time I saw her was just before they come to haul me in. She had this look in her eyes of great disappointment, like I'd let her down. I done told you I wasn't nothing much special as a man. Well, she had that look to her, and I lit out before the sheriff could get there. What did she expect? I was just an ordinary man. But you put her name on the watch. Yes, I like to think she would have took to you if she knew. What's the rest? What happened between you and the dandy? Well, I just got shut of my load in the countryside, as you might imagine. Just turned them loose. I got home 3 days later and I was drunk. The dandy was over to tea with my Rose and some other ladies. You should have seen them, all dressed in nines and carrying on like royalty. Well, what I done was decide to let that pistol do the deciding on the dandy. I shot him through the heart right there in front of everybody. I told Rose then what I thought they'd been doing. She was all to pieces and denying it. I thought the charm operated like it was supposed to because the dandy gave out an awful shudder and gurgled something and died on the spot. I thought about it using it on Rose too, but she was still denying it. And after a while I come to believe her, that she wasn't just putting on to save herself. She said how she was just lonely with my being gone all the time and needed some attention, and how she'd always loved me. So it turned out the dandy wasn't doing anything with my Rose. I thought the charm was wrong, and here I'd murdered a man they gave me no offense. I was mighty confused and bearing a great weight in my heart. Then one of them ladies gathered around the dandy, all crying and carrying on. You know what they did? They confessed. They'd all been doing with the dandy what I accused Rose of doing with him. It just wrung my gut up into a knot. Anyway, there wasn't any undoing a dead man, so I lit out. Changed as much as I could about myself and landed here. I've been waiting for the other shoe to drop ever since. Boshears picked a coffee cup off the floor and dropped the cigar stub in. Then he sat there wistfully holding the cup over his knee. A faint breeze stirred behind the curtain and wove the puzzles more intimately, one onto the other. A strip of wallpaper gave out at the ceiling and scrolled halfway down the wall and bounced, momentarily pretending an accompanying racket, but there came no sound. Mr. Boshears, when is it you'll be going away? A week's time, son. A week's time, Clay. Would it be okay if I took old Hector? Boshears smiled. I'd like to have you do that, son, he said.
So how did you come up with that idea for that story? Did that just come to you one day, or?
There's an element of truth to it. The watch part is true. The rest and the characters are true, but the events are imagination.
I see. Okay. So how long have you been writing?
20 years.
Okay. Great. So are your stories published by a big publication, or are they like the little sign says over there, handmade books?
Yes, they're self-published. These are. I do have another one that is actually published on the Dead Mule.
Okay. All right. Dwight, thank you so much for reading that. And I hope that everybody has gotten a taste for your work. And where can they get this work?
At Buffalo River Artisans and Crafts in Linden, Tennessee.
All right. Thank you so much.